Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. This is NBL Overtime. He's Homicide, he's Liam. I don't really care, to be fair, because we live in Melbourne. And right now, things are starting to get a little looser. We're legally allowed to go out and have some fun. Hello to everyone around the country. We will get to plenty of NBL chat. But, boys, it just... I don't know if it's the fact that it feels like we look like we're getting closer to an NBL season when the restrictions and we're all starting to beat this thing together. I feel a hell of a lot better today than I have in a number of months. Hello to you.
How's it going, man? I feel similarly.
Yeah,
I feel
good.
similarly. It's I got my donut. I'm ready to get on the beer.
2 in a row. 2 days in a row. National Donut Day yesterday and today. Homicide, hello to you. You still haven't got the print, but I'm going to forgive you this week. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's definitely a good day. Restrictions have been loosened up, and we'll get to some sort of normalcy.
Now, this is where we're going to start. There's plenty to get into. Brian Goorjian is going to join us. But the very fact is that Dan Andrews, the Victorian Premier yesterday, essentially spoke about, it was a question from a journalist, straight up, opened it, can we get on the beers? And the Premier then said he's going to go a little top shelf. But here at NBL Overtime, our budget's a little lower. So beers is where we start. And it got me thinking, boys, out of all the NBL players in the history of the NBL, from 1 game to 600, hashtag NBL Overtime. If you're at home right now, at NBL, let me know who's the one NBL player you want to have a beer with. Right now, one player, the first player that comes to mind, Liam Santa Maria. Who is it?
I want to see my man Tommy Greer.
Oh, you're okay.
I want to see my guy and have a beer with my guy. But if you want me to go further afield than that, and I hope I don't steal a name Corey might throw out there because it's a former teammate of his.
Okay.
I've never had and would love to have a beer at some stage with Rusty Hinder. That's a guy who I think, a couple of Snake Pit lagers, be a good laugh. Yeah,
we're going to get to something else that I've been brewing in my mind. I'm excited. I've got so many different things rolling through my mind right now. He's going to come up in a split second. And I like, this is what I like. People, and of course, plenty of people who watch NBL Overtime don't live in Victoria, don't live in Melbourne, don't understand. They've had some freedom, although it hasn't been, the normal 2020 as I know. But get on the beers. We're allowed to go have a beer. Oh, I'm psyched. I like that. I like your way of which you've thought about it too, because you're, of course, best mates with Tommy Greer. So you've got that connection you haven't been able to have, and you've been able to use the loophole. Homicide, you got someone?
Steve Carfino. That's my guy. That's one of my OGs out here. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with him.
Well, we kind of got to have a virtual beer with Steve Carfino, Liam and I, this year. We did NBL Rewind, and he joined us when we were talking so much about Hobart and Tassie, and of course, he's wonderful. Oh, that's a great suggestion.
Right. He is one of the all-time great conversationalists, Steve Carfino. We know what he can do on the floor and commentating, singing, multi-talented dude, but he's a guy you can just chat to for ages.
See, for me, Steven Jackson. I know he wasn't here for a long time, and it was so early in his career. He was, I'm not going to say the original next star, but he was also, it was the premise of it. He breaks his foot. It was an insanely talented Sydney team, but it didn't really work. He ends back in the NBA, and there's been a hell of a lot of ups, a lot of downs, as we know. But to sit back with Steven Jackson and have a chat with him, and also to get his thoughts on the NBL and how it crafted him, because Shane Hill told Liam and I on NBL Rewind that he thinks that the way that things worked out for Steven Jackson, while it was a negative at the time, it might have built him for something much better and successful career. So Steven Jackson, for me, hell of a lot going on as well. But then it got me thinking.
You're always thinking.
Let's put together an all NBL barbecue team. So you've got to put together 5 guys from the history of the NBL to come to your place. You don't have to cook. You can have it catered if you want, if you're not great on their tools. But you have the 5 all NBL barbecue team.
You really are. You're feeling social.
You know what? This is the weird thing about me, Liam. You've known me 20 years. I'm not a sociable guy, but this is what 2020 has done. It's made me crave hanging out with people. And you know what? Maybe people want to hang out with me. Unlikely, but you can dream. Have you got an all NBL barbecue team, Homicide, or have you got at least some people you'd like to invite?
I got an all NBL barbecue team.
Let's go.
CJ Bruton. Cal Bruton. I'm sorry, not CJ, but Cal Bruton.
No. Sorry, CJ.
Not CJ. He ain't old enough. I want the OGs. I want OGs.
Not invited.
CJ I want the OGs. I want the old heads. I want the old
CJ heads. Can drop his dad off, but he can't come in.
I don't want you, CJ. No. All right. We getting Cal Bruton. I want chairman of the boards, Mark Davis.
Ooh. Yeah.
I want Ben Simmons Sr.
Mm-hmm.
I want Amazing Grace. And I want D-Mac. Because I want to listen to their transition after the game and what made all of them, who played a huge part in the NBL, what made them come to live in Australia and talk about their experiences in the country. That would be a fun barbecue.
That would need to be like an hour-long special. We need to get a camera in there. And
no doubt.
That reminds me of like LeBron and his guys in the barbershop. Just would be great stories.
See, I call that the NBL Hall of Fame dinner. Like, you want to hang with these dudes? Just put on a Hall of Fame barbecue. And that's it. Like you've been able to find the OG. I love it. Hashtag NBL Overtime. Let us know who you're inviting to a barbecue. You can give us maximum of 5. Unless you got burner accounts, and you can give us a couple of others. Where you starting, Liam?
All right, I didn't quite do my homework to the extent that Corey did. I'm going to go 5, but I got another guy that's on the tools.
Oh, no, come on, mate.
No.
On the tools? No, so you're inviting someone over to cook. Okay, I'll grant you that. Loophole.
I need Mitch Creek turning the snags.
Yeah, fair enough.
Absolute lad. Be great at the barbecue. And then I want the dynamic duo of Drewy and Copes, because there's just no 2 blokes that are better to spend time with. Just let them go and off you go. If you haven't listened to their podcast, make sure you're all over it. And then I want, and I've always wanted this. So this is my opportunity to kind of create this and make this happen. I want Brian Goorjian, Bruce Palmer, and Al Westover. I want all 3 of those fellas there, kicking back, having some snags, and shooting the shit.
Jeez, yet again. That's a Hall of Fame dinner right there. See, I've gone a little differently with some of mine. And I want to give a huge apology, because I've thought a little bit differently. I've thought outside the square, because we have, in the last couple of years, the privilege of been hanging out with some of these legends. So, Andrew Gaze, Shane Heal, Chris Anstey, those type of guys, we get to talk to a little bit. So when it comes to the all NBL barbecue crew, I want people coming over that I've never hung out with before. All right. I had Rusty Hinder, and I've never met any of these people. Okay. I had Rusty Hinder in my all NBL barbecue team.
Yeah. He jumps off the page
because I want to know if the story is true, where he was riding a bike to Townsville practice and a snake went to attack his bike and pierced his wheel on his bicycle. I've been told that story. It is one of the most remarkable stories of all time. I want to know if that's true.
Okay.
So he's riding his bike, put a puncture in his bike. That's what I've been told. I have no idea. Leon Trimmingham, who in my mind is the best dunker that's ever played in the NBL. Okay.
You want him there so you can tell him that.
Yeah, well, true. He's going to be more likely to come over to be complimented. Ray Gordon.
Oh.
If you're Ray Gordon or a Tigers fan, the 90s, like he brought the intensity.
I like that Corey finds that funny.
No, he said that, he's more likely to come over. He's going to be complimented.
That's true. That's true. If you're going to say nice things about someone, they're going to come to your house.
So if Ray Gordon's there, then is Parky invited as well?
Well, I would like that for them to break bread and to sit there and have a chat, and then maybe find the video of that infamous Knox preseason game back in the early 90s, and they can talk us through it. And then Kelvin Telford, and of course Tassie, and obviously what's happening, because I think that both Leon Trimmingham and Kelvin Telford would believe they are the greatest ever dunkers in the NBL. So I would bring Trimmingham and Telford to the barbecue. And then while we were there, a very good mate of mine, Brett Rainbow, who I played along basketball with, and he literally nearly killed me talking barbecues and beers. I would then FaceTime Brett Rainbow, because he famously robbed both Trimmingham and Telford of a dunk contest in 1995 because Al McFeast gave him a 10 with a blindfold that he could see through.
So you wanted to bring the trophy.
I want him to bring the trophy, and then for Trimmingham and Telford to say to Rainbow, you shouldn't have won it, and where's the trophy?
Wow. Eclectic mix. I'm going to say Corey and my barbecues are going to be more fun.
No, but you know what? You guys have just put together a Hall of Fame dinner. You know, we're gonna have an NBL shindig in the next couple of years when we get back to normality, and all those legends will be there, either accepting awards or handing out awards or signing autographs and just shaking hands because they're all legends. I'm bringing a different feel to my barbecue, which kind of gives an insight to my personality.
I'm probably going to get Scott and Ennis to cater the bring some fine wines from the Barossa for my barbie.
We go one step further. Darren Lucas, of course, Scott Nennis and Darren Lucas.
He's in charge of transport.
He's got the party bus. Well, look, this is, and to be honest,
we're feeling good.
We are. This is limitless. And this is what we want you to do at home. You can be the first person you invite around for a beer. You could be put together your all NBL barbecue team, your all NBL party bus. Whatever you want to do, of course, we are feeling a bit better as we hopefully get back to some type of normality. It's happening slowly but surely. And to be honest, boys, it does feel, as I touched on off the top, it does feel like we're getting closer to an NBL season. We're all cooped up in our houses and we can't go further than 5Ks, or we can't see family. We can't get out and shoot a hoop, even if you're 40-year-old and that's the way you like to do. It just feels almost unrealistic and unattainable. And it feels in the last couple of days with Victoria finally, as we've all been in this together, getting our collective act together, it feels like the NBL season's getting closer. So there's that cherry on top as well.
Yeah, and you know what adds,
being able to live it.
What adds to that feeling, sorry, Cam, is getting a really strong sense that all these teams are out on their practice floor.
Yeah.
No, but not all the rosters are complete. We know that there's some import spots and the like to fill, and we don't have everybody here, but they're out on the floor. We're seeing some footage. We're seeing some photos. We're hearing about who's, looking good out there on the floor. We've even got a couple of practice games, preseason games, not too far around the corner with Adelaide and Brisbane coming together. So you're right, getting a strong sense that things are starting to pick up, and we await word from the NBL, further word about how the season's going to look and when exactly it's going to tip off.
There's no doubt, Homicide. It's getting more exciting. We've been through this. We've been through a huge off season. There was no summer league this year, of course. There's no NBL 1. And while I'm not saying it's been hard for us because we get to love talking hoops, it's interesting when you mention the clubs and the franchises because they've all gone about it in different ways. Some have had their rosters set and they're ready to get into this thing. Others have been sitting back and waiting. And I just like the different approaches and dynamics, the whole feel towards it in which these teams have approached it.
I just like the fact that we are now done with restrictions, okay, in our state, which is Victoria. Now, Melbourne United, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix can move forward with their preparations for the next season. And that's it. Let's get this thing going. Let's get back to some sort of, again, normalcy. I am hoping that everybody plays their part and does the right thing. I've never been in prison, but I felt like we were in prison, but free. Moments were limited, which means people, when they come out of captivity, what will they do? Most people do. Go nuts. So let's just hope that everyone continues to be responsible so we're not in this situation a couple weeks or a month or two down the road. That's the last thing we want. And that's the reality of the situation. People need to continue to be responsible.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. At NBL, wherever you might be around the country, very well said, boys, as we hopefully get back to normality, both in your everyday life, your work life, your personal life, your socialising, and, of course, the NBL life in which we all love. If it's media, if it's fans, whatever it might be, players, big shout-out to you guys as you get ready. We see the WNBL clubs are now up in far north Queensland, so they start their season in a couple of weeks' time. So there will be basketball to watch and hopefully an announcement sooner rather than later when it comes to the start of the NBL season. Let's get into a little bit of news because we spoke last week about Will Weaver. High on the list of, priorities, or at least of of possible incoming coaches and around a couple of NBA franchises. But Liam Santa Maria, one of those has been filled in the last couple of days.
Yes, Stan Van Gundy, hired by the New Orleans Pelicans. Great hire. I'm sad that we're going to miss out hearing him further in the commentary booth. I enjoyed listening to his analysis, but he's a great pickup. And once he kind of, got in the mix there at New Orleans, I feel like we all thought that he was going to be their guy, a highly respected coach. And that takes one of those jobs off the table for Will Weaver. I mentioned last week his involvement in the process with Oklahoma City. There's been no further word in that regard. So we wait to see how that plays out. But look, I don't think there's any shame in missing out on a head coaching position as Stan Van Gundy. And like I've said previously, it's a matter of when, not if, with Will Weaver. Will that maybe not be this year? Maybe he'll be back with the Sydney Kings, but we know he's on that kind of trajectory, and we wait to hear further word out of OKC.
Did you touch
it
base
is extremely difficult with so many other coaches as former head coaches or probably current head coaches that just may have lost their position with the team in the NBA and may still be of service. It is extremely difficult to crack a head coaching position anywhere, let alone in the NBA. So again, just because he did not get picked doesn't mean he wasn't good enough. It's no different than an NBA player trying to make a roster. Doesn't mean you're not good enough. It's the right time and an opportunity. So again, I said it a couple weeks ago. I said it last week. He makes it to the league. That's great. If he doesn't, that's great because he's still here with the Sydney Kings and the value and experience that he brings, carrying it over into this season, NBL 21. I wouldn't like to see him not with the Kings this season based off of the work and the unfinished business from last season to carry over this season.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a win-win either way, really, for us, right, as observers, because if he progresses from the NBL through to the NBA, terrific. That's a great result for our league as a development ground, not just for players, but for coaches. We've seen it happen before, and to see it happen again would be great. But you're right. I mean, you want to see a coach kind of grow with a team. He's put in place some things. He's signed some new guys that are part of the reason why they're there is to play under Will Weaver. So for us, it's win-win. For him, I think it's probably win-win as well. It's a great situation. He enjoys himself in Sydney, but geez, you'd love to see anyone like Mitch Creek last year, like Will Magnay, these guys that have big dreams of the big leagues. You love to see those people if they've put the work in to reap those rewards.
The NBA, and there's been some chatter and discussion been reported last 4 or 5 days as well. December 22, this is a date that's been floated. Now it's not confirmed, but the talk is, and from pretty well-placed sources as well over the last 4 or 5 days, is that the NBA is looking to start around the December 22 mark and be done and dusted by the Olympics. Okay, so that is great news. We've gone in depth into that from a Boomers perspective.
Hey, I told you, boys. I told you I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah.
Until it's in the books.
Now,
talk about feeling good. How good is this news?
This is great news. There's still
no. Come on, man. Don't be a downer.
You're right. This is not the week to try and diminish the excitement.
This is all up, mate. Finish that thing before the Olympics. Roll our group out.
Win a medal.
Let's go get the gold one.
Mm-hmm.
Mate. Awesome news. Let's
be able to celebrate with a beer. Either way, it does, of course, change not just the Boomers, but does it change? I'll start with you first, Liam. Does it change? Does it change recruiting? Does it change? Of course, we're sitting around. We mentioned Jock Landale, a couple of weeks ago, players who, I guess, if you have a look at Jonah Bolden's another one as well. These guys who have sort of been sitting around waiting for the NBA. Does it change? Do you think the possibility of certain imports or players playing in the NBL compared to waiting and giving a crack at the NBA?
Yeah, it's a fascinating situation. We don't see this. We don't see a situation where the NBA season starts before the NBL season. And, you mentioned those Aussie names and how things play out for them, but also within the import realm. We've mentioned a number of teams are waiting before they sign their import spots. And well before our season will start, those training camp cuts will have happened, and those guys will be cut loose that'll be looking for opportunities. So it is an interesting one, and I think a lot of GMs, head coaches, CEOs around our league would have paid particular interest to that and said, "Oh, hold on, we're waiting. Maybe we should keep waiting to see how that all plays out."
Homicide, you've been in this situation, obviously waiting and looking at jobs, all the rest around the world. How much does it change it now?
I mean, it doesn't change. It still plays in the hands of the NBL. If you don't have your import slots locked in, you continue to wait, to give a guy who you may be interested in signing that opportunity to follow his dreams to potentially make an NBA roster. And if it doesn't, you have time still left to sign a player who may get cut. So, you just got to continue to be patient. Plus, with Europe and everything going on, it's going to be a shit show in Europe, to be honest with you, because the second wave is coming. Spain already just announced a state of emergency. Italy's coming with different restrictions. It's going to be exactly that. So there's going to be guys that you may not think you have had the opportunity to get in that price range because they might be priced out of the range that will be available and want to play somewhere safe. So the NBL is definitely will be in the driver's seat this season.
One of the names that we're very familiar with who falls into this kind of category is, of course, Scotty Hopson. We've spoken about on numerous occasions on this show with regards to the Brisbane Bullets or maybe Melbourne United. The Jungle Drums are telling me, I know it's early, we're talking about when they make their training camp cuts, but the Jungle Drums are telling me that his agent is still in communication with NBL teams, that communication is very much continuing to take place. And I flagged before that Scotty loves playing in the NBL, and if he's not in the NBA, this is well and truly a place where he wants to play. And I found it interesting to hear during the week that conversations with his agent and NBL teams are happening again.
Well, what teams?
I spoke to Scotty Hopson yesterday.
Go on.
Here we go.
Look, I'm not going to say anything yet. It's way too early. But
come on, you can't give us that.
Pretty much still along the lines of what Liam's saying. He loves this league.
Somebody give me some teams. Give me some teams.
He feels, how many teams
Come on,
have import spots left, Cam? Play process of elimination.
You want us to take your hand and walk you through it like a small child?
So I'll put this on the record. Scotty Hopson is talking to every NBL team that has an import slot. Yes?
Look, you dress it up how you like. All I'm telling you is this.
Do what you want to do, Cam.
Right.
Oh, God. I believe
that's the yes then.
That if it does not, again, if he makes it to the NBA, same thing like Weaver, fantastic. If he doesn't and he ends up in the NBL, fantastic. It was a three-headed monster for me as far as the top three players in the NBL last season. He was one of them. We know Bryce Cotton, we know Scott Machado, and him. So for him to come back here, he would be confident, and I think he'd flow even better because like anybody who had success their first season in a league. They know the league. The league knows them. He knows the key players, the referees, start to build a relationship. And I believe if he comes back, he'll have an incredible season. So, here's the wishful thinking.
Corey, were you chatting like Chapel Street? Were you talking like restaurants that you think he might enjoy in Melbourne? No,
it was just more like him studying right now in uni, taking courses, for life after the game. He's starting to think about that while in the game, which is extremely smart. And most players don't do that. So we was vibing on that level, as well as, potential opportunities his way, gave him a little bit of advice, personal advice in life and, just the type of mindset he needs to have in terms of decision-making. So, that's what the conversation was really about.
So some nice cafes in the heartland, I guess. I don't know. All right. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved.
Well, we did, Cam, speak with Sam McKinnon.
Yes.
On NBL Rewind recently, right? GM of basketball.
Man, if Sammy Mack if Sam McKinnon,
if he pulls that off,
was playing in this era, he would be in the league. He had everything. I came into the league in 2007, and he played with Brisbane Bullets. They had a crew. I think they won it that year. That was the year they went bankrupt, or they won it the year before, right? And they went bankrupt. ABC, the children, you know, the whole Eddie, what is his name? Eddie Groves, I think. They went bankrupt. But anyway, never mind that.
Thank you.
He had game. Like, there was nothing he couldn't do. Athleticism, body, build, could handle the pill, make decisions as a point guard. He's a point forward at the 3. Super strong, dumb athletic, could shoot. He'd be in the league. If he played this era, he would be in the NBA.
Yeah, he would have the same question mark as he did at the time, which was, can he knock it down consistently if left open? You know, it's the same question mark that's surrounded Mitch Creek and over the course of the last few years, and his attempts to not make the league. He's made the league, but to kind of establish a consistent spot there. I think it would be the same thing, but mate, hell a game.
I think it'd be the same thing. I don't think it'd be the same thing. He could make decisions like a point guard. He's a point forward from the 3. The wave right now is Australia. This is a hotbed for talent. Whenever something becomes the wave, people will give you more of a look because it's the hot thing. That's what happens. There's plenty of guys in Europe that went to the league that wasn't worthy of going to the league, but because Europe was the wave, let's give the guy a look. Now, can he play in the league? Yeah. Will he stick? That's up to him. You know what I mean? But I believe if he played right now, more of this free-flowing area and not, okay, he needs to be a 2 or he needs to be a 3. He's a baller.
Oh,
you know, he's a baller. Yeah.
And he's now the GM of basketball at the Brisbane Bullets. He's off.
Look at that. That's what's up.
Stuff, and he's moving and shaking in the recruiting stakes. And we flagged Scotty Hopson to him, and he said he'd be great. So you can guarantee those conversations are taking place. There's a couple of teams, Cam, that need a small.
Yeah, Cam.
We'll walk you through the depth charts after the show.
Maybe you walk it through for everyone around the country. Let me just put it this way as well. After all the grief you gave me last week, if you boys hang around for yes or no,
well, we got Goorjian. We might not have time.
Hey, I'll push Goorjian next week, mate. I was up all night last night. Hey, interesting comments from the commish about an NBL possible second league. And we're not talking NBL 1, talking, of course, a situation that runs at the same time as the NBL season. Now, we'll see. There's the comments there. He went on Fran Fraschiller's podcast, and they had a couple of interesting things to say to commish, but we might start with this as you have a look at the quote. How about this? How about a second-tier league while the NBL is on? So it runs concurrently, very similar to if you're an AFL person, the AFL, and what is a VFL in a normal situation in the state leagues. I'll start with you first, Homicide, because, of course, the NBA and the G League runs very similar. It's probably a better example than using the AFL. What do you like of this idea?
In order to be the best, right? In order to be the best player you can be, who would you have to emulate? The best that's out there, correct? Yep. Right. So why not do what they do? They meaning the NBA. And I think the NBL has done a fantastic job doing exactly that. And actually doing it so well, they've actually outdone the NBA. For example, the Next Stars program. It made the NBA handle their business and begin keeping the players on U.S. soil. So that goes to show you the way this league is moving. Now, as far as sports in this country on the junior level, it's the most participated. We know this. The junior program in this country is one of the best in the world. We know this. Why not have a league like that? That what you do is you could keep homegrown talent here, and outside of that, what you do is develop and get them ready for the next level by playing in a farm league. That's what you should do if you can do. There's enough players here that love the game. So why not begin to implement a system like that?
Sure.
Makes sense.
It does. I want to start by shouting out the commish. I like how he's just going on podcasts with heavy hitters and dropping news.
It's what you can do when you're the commissioner, Liam, I assume.
Sure. You sure can. I love it. And it's interesting because for a long time, we have been elite in this country at junior development, right? Our programs right across the country, our junior coaches, our kids come through and their skills, their knowledge of the game, their basketball IQ get really well developed. And then there's always been this gap, this period of time when they reach like under 18s, under 20s. And as a result, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids year in, year out going over and playing college. But that's not the right fit for everyone.
No.
And we so often see kids coming back. You know, you see Will Magnay come back, and you see Dave Barlow didn't, way back when, didn't spend very long over at college. Like Harry Froling didn't have great experiences at a couple of schools. So to give these players an opportunity to play here year round as they're coming up and through, and we see like a guy like Will Magnay, what playing at the lower level did for his game. Well, those players at NBL 1 level who during the NBL season, maybe they don't want to go to college or they want to keep playing, and maybe it's not, they don't have that other option. A situation like this could be a really good look.
Yeah, look, I don't know if this is in fact possible, but like the NBL 1 continues, and Liam and I, we've had a fair bit to do with it, and been able to watch it grow, and where it sits is great. I don't know if it's possible to do this going national nowadays. I don't know if each and every year the top, because you got to link them up with NBL clubs. I think for this to work, it's got to be linked up to the NBL clubs, of which we'll have 10 in 12 months' time. Maybe every state has the best team. They're all seeded, and just for that NBL season, they link up. So if if Kilsyth win the men's NBL 1, they are, of course, straight up linked with Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, and it can be a farming situation because your best player might not be able to play in the NBL 1 in the summer because they might be playing in the NBL. But I think that gives an incentive to NBL 1 clubs around the country to maintain that high standard in winter and continue to have something to strive for. Because if you get to the end of the year, then you've got a summer program. You got to go out, and I don't know the best way about it, because I think you're putting maybe too much strain on NBL clubs if you're just going to say, hey, you need to contract 18 guys over the summer. Yeah. So it has to be done the right way. And I'm just spitballing here, but I love the idea of it.
I think back to years back where certainly in Victoria, they had the VBA competition taking place on a Wednesday night, and the NBL guys would all play there. And you'd see opportunities for younger players who aren't getting a lot of shots or a lot of burn on the weekend with their NBL teams. They can get out there and play a bunch of minutes and get a bunch of shots up. Like you look at a guy like Sam McDaniel, or a guy in Brisbane like Tyrell Harrison, like a guy like Anthony Fisher during the week, during the NBL season, be able to get involved in those games, put up some big numbers and make it rain. I
agree, but that is first. That's the NBL 1 in the winter. The big thing is the thing with the VBA, which you and I both played in, is that you didn't have to get on a plane and travel. So financially, then the riches go up, because the only way this is going to work or be a possibility is that every club or every state has representation over the course of the season. So that's going to be the big thing. That's going to be the big thing to be able to make it financially work. The idea is unbelievable. I love the idea of it. It's just finding the right way. And you're right. The theory is correct because the old VBA, and sometimes you'd see, unfortunately, it happened to me when Gaze and Copes and Bradke came down for a run and dropped 190 on us, and it was horrible. It was the worst 4 quarters of our lives. But in saying that, that is great in so many different aspects. It's just being able to find that right balance. But I like it. Oh, just on that podcast as well, the continual talk that, Fran dropping, that he expects RJ Hampton was hearing to be a top 10, to be in the top, not just a lottery pick, but in the top 10 homicide, of which we spoke about a fair bit last week.
I mean, what's awesome about this draft is unpredictability. So they're just going to start basing it after about the top 5. I mean, anybody can go, which is my opinion, because you don't know who's actually going to be able to get picked and whose skill sets is going to transition. So you have to go off of what you actually know about this player. I know this young kid came to the NBL, played about half the game, averaged this many points against pros. I'm taking a guy a young man that's played against men before I'm taking a guy that's played against kids. If I'm going to just pick, after that, if you could pick whoever, I'm going to pick a guy that played against pros. That's how I believe he's going to get into that top 10, top 15. Because you don't know. After the top 5, you do not know.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to hear him say that he, Fran Fraschilla, that he expects RJ to be a top 10 pick. I mean, he was talking about 7, 8, and 9, which is, I mean, I hadn't heard much of that with regards to RJ, but this is a guy with a lot of years of experience of evaluating talent, and he knows the NBA draft inside and out. And he also, he's a keen observer of the NBL. I mean, he watched RJ right throughout that journey. So we flagged it last week. His arrows pointing up, is impressing in the pre-draft process of what pre-draft process there is right now. And it's exciting times.
I want to explain something, right? Here's my thing. There's a lot of draft experts that have never seen this league. Is this league a world-class league?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We know this because we cover it. That's why we can talk about this league in depth. They don't cover this league. So how can they talk about something they don't know about? They can't. Can you talk about NCAA in depth right now, all of those teams that's Division I? No way. Right? Me neither. So they have more knowledge about the competition over there. Some of the best teams in the NCAA will get their ass handed to them in this league. So how can they talk about what they don't know? That's why I throw it out the window in terms of when we're talking about RJ Hampton or Melo Ball. Like, they can't tell us about a grown man's league.
Yeah,
I know that your game, if you do well here, as young as they are, their games will transition over into that. I don't know about that with NCAA. A lot of guys are just playing against guys that they're just completely better than, and the other guys are scrubs. Scrubs. No skill set, just athletic, and that's it, and just run the floor. That don't mean your game is going to transition. You getting open dunks. How you getting your buckets? Who you playing against? You get what I'm saying? That's why I say it's going to be a toss-up. So when you hear an expert like this who's saying that, they are staring, watching the NBL, it's because he knows. He knows. That's why he can say, this guy's going to go 8, 9, or 10. Look, I'm an old school kind of guy. What we used to say when a kid is good, let's see what he does against men. That's how we rate him. We don't rate a young talent against what he does against kids his age or 1 or 2 years older. Come on, man. We don't do that. That's why RJ has a chance to go top 10.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's tricky because some of these guys who haven't yet shown what they can do against men are going to do some really good things.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a little bit tricky. You've seen some have that opportunity. You haven't seen it with others. So, it's a tricky thing. But, and in the end, it doesn't really matter what number these kids go. What matters is what work they do, what situation they land in,
it does
who they
matter.
become.
Oh, it matters because I tell you this, you can be you and I can have the same talent. If I go number 30 and you go 10 or 15 or 20, who do you think is going to get more opportunity for error? Oh, it matters. It matters. You're not going 30 and I go 15 and you have more room for error than me. No way.
I hear you, but this is this is why I really believe in RJ, because I feel like he's wired the right way and he's going to put in the work. So whereas, okay, you're right. Maybe the margin for error is smaller. Whatever margin of error he's given, I think he's going to excel because he's going to put in the work. And I like the way he thinks about the game. I like the support he has, especially from his old man. I think a lot of the pieces are right there in place for him to succeed, whether he goes 7, 8, 9, whether he goes somewhere in the lottery or whether he slips a bit, and he goes and people sleep on him a little bit. I still feel like he's going to have a really good NBA career.
All right. Before we get to yes or no, Tom Abercrombie, of course, it's such a weird balancing act because we're trying to work out a way where we can safely have, of course, travel to New Zealand would be the perfect example and then be able to have home games for the Breakers. But it is looking, in particular early in the year, that the Breakers like the New Zealand Warriors did in the NRL. They might need to come and base themselves in Australia for a little while. And Tom Abercrombie got a young family, and that's understandable that there was maybe a little possibility of him not joining the Breakers. But the good news is, Liam, that he said last couple of days that he will be here and part of that Breakers team, and they're going to be good. We all think they're going to be good. They've put together a roster that we're excited to see. No doubt they are really psyched to get this going. But Tom Abercrombie, who was great last year, and this is great news that he said, hey, even if it's on the road for a little while and I've got family, which is, of course, the number one priority, I'm going to be in Jersey.
It is. Although, can I say, I can completely understand where he was coming from originally.
100%.
You know, like, and not just his personal individual family situation with the young ones, but I'm sure, you know, I could understand that from all kinds of players around the league in their own individual circumstances. We know from other instances, the NBA bubble, what happened with AFL and those players, like it can be a really, really difficult thing. And but you're right, that New Zealand team's going to be really, really good. And I think if any team is waiting with bated breath to hear about how it's going to look and what they're going to need to do, it's them. They're in a really unique situation. I also thought it was interesting during the week to hear from Matt Walsh, good article from Mark Hinton over there in New Zealand, and him saying, look, I'm so committed. This has been a tough year. It's going to be a really tough year for us, no matter how it plays out in terms of revenue and the like. But he's like, I've moved my family to New Zealand. I'm so psyched about the future of this organization, and I'm locked and loaded and ready to go, which was great to hear, because the owners, I mean, we don't think about this maybe enough, but our owners around the league, you know, God bless them. They've been dealing with a tough economic climate, and to hear that they are locked in and loaded and ready to keep going is great news.
Listen,
absolutely.
With a team as stacked as his team is, he should be locked and loaded and ready to pop off wherever. On site, you got to come to Australia, you got to come to Perth, wherever he got to go. With a team that stacked, I'm sure he's hyped. Now, Tom Abercrombie, he is such a huge part to what they do. It is very, very great to hear that he will be traveling with the team and, you know, doing whatever he has to do to play his part. But New Zealand, man, that team is stacked. I look forward to seeing how they put it together on court and continue from where they left off last season.
Anything else, Liam?
Yes, we got no, let's go. Yo,
we got Gorge
last week.
Let's Gorge.
Liam, you are funny as hell, man. Last week, I looked at that old man photo of Cam.
Hey, for real. You see what I see?
I'm going to update that photo.
Like the old filter on his face.
I couldn't obviously, because I'm being socially distancing and stuck in the house.
And aging.
I couldn't go. I couldn't go.
Rapidly.
I couldn't go and get my graphic designer to redo it. I was just checking something on Brian Goorjian, who will join us. All right, hang on. Liam.
Yes.
In the last 2 years, have you been offered a role at an NBL club?
Yes.
Corey. Prime Corey.
This is Prime Corey.
All NBL, no, playing Prime Corey. All NBL first team in 2020?
100%.
Yes, okay. Will Trevor Gleeson be on the short list for the Boomers coach?
Yes.
Will he get the job? Back to you, Liam.
No.
Did you ever discuss a role with the Hawks, Homicide?
No.
At all? It didn't come up in conversation?
Do you not understand? What part of no don't you understand?
Just making sure.
He feels like he's bringing the heat right now.
If Will Weaver, Liam, Will Weaver does end up in the NBA, is Rob Beveridge a chance to coach the Sydney Kings?
No.
Did you speak to Scott Machado this week, Corey?
Yes.
Did he inquire what it's like to live in Melbourne?
No.
Has he signed the cans?
I don't know.
Did he suggest to you he'd spoken to a Melbourne-based team?
No.
Did Southeast Melbourne or have Southeast Melbourne?
Is it Puma?
Have Southeast Melbourne offered Scotty Hopson? Is there a contract on the table for Scotty Hopson from Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix?
Well, it's yes or no, but I'm going to borrow an answer from Corey. I don't know.
This, what? So this, just so aware, just for people playing at home. So if I bring the weak yes or no, which I take all controversy and criticism on the chest, they're happy to answer yes or no's. When I bring the real thunder, there's all of a sudden other answers.
That was the thunder? Was that the real thunder?
I've got 2 more things up my sleeve. I don't want to waste them all this week.
Okay.
But I have got something next week that could threaten to blow NBL Overtime apart.
Wow.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. At NBL, hit us up. Now, boys, as I just touched on in yes or no and the dodged answers, I am working on something. I'm cooking something behind the scenes. In fact, it's so big, I'm actually going to zing out of this. I'm going to go chase it now. Brian Goorjian, the legend that he is, and of course, on that shortlist when it comes to the Australian Boomers job, and now back on court in an NBL sense with the Hawks. So I'm going to leave you 2 boys to have a chat to the legend. Will I zing out and work on this yes or no? NBL Overtime could blow up next week story that I've got to get to. Liam, take it.
Here he is, the GOAT, the most successful coach in NBL history, Brian Goorjian, in charge of the Hawks this year and straight off the practice court. What's going on, man?
It's great. It's nice to be back on the court, and it's nice to coach without an interpreter. That's the first 2 things that hit me. Saying something and knowing that, and a lot of times it's not what they want to hear, but a lot of times in China, I think I'd say stuff and the interpreter would be saying maybe something a little bit different, like, this guy's nuts, don't listen to him. So it's nice. It's nice to be working just straight out.
It's been your
Wollongong's and it's a place, really nice place, really easy lifestyle. Everybody's friendly. You got the beach. Coming from Southern California, this is a great setup.
So I see you have Cam Bairstow that was on the court today, his first workout. How's he looking?
Yeah, we got a lot of Corey. We got a lot of guys that it's been interesting. The young guys are very, very, very athletic to what I've been coaching. Just really a lot of lively, long, length bodies. And the thing that stands out to me about Cam right away is he knows how to play. He knows where to be off the ball. He knows how to play pick and roll. He's played in Lithuania, so he asks me questions that I don't know what he's talking about. Set the pick and roll out of there. Well, do you want me to short roll? Do you want me to reverse pivot and come up? He's been well coached and really highly skilled. And so he's going to be a really nice piece for us. And everybody talks about the injuries in the body, but he seems, he seems in good condition. I think he's on the up from all of that from when he was in Brisbane. So really excited, and he really adds. We need that experience because we're young.
But I imagine it's a bit of a tricky situation. You don't know exactly when the season's going to start. You don't have all your bodies on court. What have you been doing on the floor this first week out there with the guys that you've had?
Well, we're just right through the organization. We're all new. You don't know anybody. Nobody knows, the systems and getting the systems in place. Just even how we operate. How the physio operates, how the doctor operates, how we do the weights, where we do the weights. Where we train at, what are the times. So just getting things in place. And now you take it, me from an offensive standpoint, I'm not just going to come down and get to the point. We're going to run stuff and move that thing around before we run pick and roll or before we dribble penetrate or before. It's going to be system-like. And to do that with young guys and a mix of guys that have never been and still are arriving, it's full on right now, really. So we've been breaking an offensive motion down, and we've been spending about 45 minutes a day on that. And then obviously pick and roll defense, side and middle, defensive transition, and then a lot of skill work in the afternoon. So for me, it is a long way away, but it's really, if we're going January 15th, and that's what we kind of have in our mind regardless, it's not that far when you look at this. And so we're full flight with the guys that are here, you know, just like when I was here before, like twice a day, morning, and then some shooting stuff in the afternoon, and then weights 3 times a week, and I give them the weekend off to freshen up.
Speaking of guys not knowing when guys are coming in and guys are just coming in, out of quarantine tomorrow is a big key and a big piece of your team, Deng Adele. He said on Liam's podcast he wants to be Defensive Player of the Year. What are your expectations for this young talent?
You know what? That's the first thing I heard, Homicide, Corey. I was like, I heard that, and you know me, I lit up like a Christmas tree. So the first thing I'm going to say to him is, that's not BS, brother. We're on about that, and we want it too. And you know, I was really, all interaction with him has excited me, because he just seems like a guy that is really hungry. I saw the interview he did with you guys. Not only is he talented, he's a great athlete, and he's going to be good on both ends of the ball. But I think he's going to add a lot of personality, a lot to practice. I think it sounds like he's competitive, he's energetic, he wants to win. He's got a little bounce to him. And, you know, you get guys like that on your team. When I was, you know, years ago with Parkey, you know, you had a guy like that that joked and made everybody's life a little bit better. And he seems that kind of kid, not only with the basketball, but I think, again, you know, you look at, we've got the 3 guys coming from America to come in, and you bring that in. And, you know, I think he makes the difference of us being competitive with those teams like Perth, United, New Zealand, or not being. I think he's that piece.
Gorge, I saw you took a trip to the Steelworks during the week. What did you take away from that experience?
Just, you know, it's the steel, it's the hard hat, you know, and you see where it comes from, you know, the steel mill. And, you know, just not only there, but just this is a small community. So if you can get, I always think of, you know, when I was an American, my dad was at UNLV, how Tark had, you know, that small, that Vegas, all those people behind the team. And you can, you know, go to a restaurant and touch, you know, and Dory is really good at that, one of our owners. So we've really been, you know, the people at the car yard, the people at the restaurant, kind of touch them and make them Hawks fans. And as I've gotten older, I've really realized, you know, I did it when I was younger. It was a lot of school clinics. You know, you do that, try to get the young guys to the game. For me now, it's trying to touch those business people in the community and the pillars of the community. And the steel mill is Wollongong, is Illawarra. So getting that and the people there behind the team, and you know, you can really tell that they really want a good basketball team, and they want a team that's going to play hard.
And speaking of that, there's a coaching vacancy right now, and your name is written all over it. Let's talk about it. This Boomers coaching vacancy. What are your thoughts on that? Have you been given it thoughts to where you can step back in this role? You know, you're more than comfortable and able to step into it. But what are your thoughts about this position?
You know, I guess the again, me where I'm at, it was never when I first I did the national team for 2 Olympics, it was never something that was my goal. You know, I mean, it's you know, like, I know as a player, you never think, you know, I'm playing to be the MVP. You're trying to win the championship, and you're trying to do your job and what you do well. And with that came the national job. And my experience with the national team, when I walked away from it, again, in all the coaching I've done and everywhere I've been, the most meaningful games that I was involved in was representing Australia at the Olympics. So I look at it, and I've always said, and again, when I came here, and it was never in the picture, never something I was thinking about. But if I was tapped on the shoulder and said, "Hey, man, we need you. You can help us in this situation, or help us now," I'm in. You know, but again, it's not something where I'm sitting here, I'm coaching this, I'm working this, and I look at the national team as like military duty. You need me,
Right.
In any form, being, if it was an advisor or if it was go up there and watch a practice or rebound a ball. I love it. I love the national team, and I love being a part of it. And I'll finish with, one of the funnest things or the best things in my time in Australia was when I was with China and I brought my team over here for 50 days. And we went around and played all the SEABL teams, and we were stationed there. And the coach came up and tapped me and said, "Coach, Australia plays America this week. USA, can you get tickets?" So I called BA and I got the whole coaching staff picked up and taken to, the game. It was the one they won. And I haven't been to a game. You got to, for 11 years in Australia. So I get there and I walk in, there's 50,000 people there. And I'm sitting in an area because I was an ex-coach, or what, I've got the badge on where I can go get a wine, get a little cheese and some, and I'm so up there talking to everybody and seeing all these people, Newley, Anderson, people I haven't seen. And I'm sitting there and I look behind me and I can see all the stellars of the I've been here since the 70s. The peoples that coach, the Lorraine Landons, the Derwins, Lauren Jackson, all the pillars of the basketball community, all the way up to the roof. They're sitting in that section behind me. And Newley's on this side, Anderson's on this side. We're yapping away, watching the game. I'm like, Patty hits that shot. Mm-hmm. And I kind of stop. I turn, I go, they're going to win. Oh, shit, Jesus, they're going to win. And I honestly, I started to get, where the hairs on your arms stand up, and our section goes really, really quiet. And the game, they hit it, the game wins, and everybody's up. And I turn and I look over my shoulder, and I swear to God, all those people I'm talking about, tears were running down their face. And it was one of the greatest feeling all the people from China were just blown away. And I walked out of there, and in turn, and I just thought to myself, what a tremendous team and what a tremendous job that staff had done. And I know you've made comments on that, and I've messaged Lamanis many a time. Again, my whole point on this, I'm for the betterment of Australian basketball and whatever's required. And I thought, Andre, what he did with that team, and where those NBA players have taken the Boomers from when I was coaching, has been tremendous. So, if my name's associated with it, I'm honored. The Boomers are something for everybody to be proud of.
Well, we love your passion, George, and we love having you back in the league, mate. And we love that you're joining us straight after practice. You've still got the whistle around your neck. For goodness sake.
The only thing, again, I thought of, I'm going to get barbecued when you guys fit this on. The wife is going to come after me about the beard. I've been hanging and hiding here. Hey, let a little go. But man, you guys do a great job with the show, and you can tell I'm still got the passion. So excited to be back, and so excited to be around. Wait till you see, Corey, some of these young guys, the Max Darlings and the AJ Gack. I mean, I've never the whole, now we've got the whole African community that was never, I kind of touched it in Melbourne, but when I left and I was a part of the national team, my team now, so many athletic young guys coming into this, and so much energy. And I know, we were 5 and whatever last night. I'm thinking, God, what, I went to United's practice during the finals last year. And I mean, the league, as you guys all say, is now in that Euro League, starting to get in that Euro League cast. It's really getting better. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome, mate. Thanks heaps for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Gorge.